so welcome to another video. As voted for by you, today I am going to be talking about the top 10, well, my personal top 10 favourite vegan / animal related documentaries. So first of all, two disclaimers. The first one is that I have a gorgeous golden retriever with me who I dog sit for like, I don't know, a couple of days every week. Her name is Cassie and she is 13, almost 14, and if she barks, I apologise. She has a habit of doing that at the moment, so but we have just been out for like a 2.5 mile walk, so hopefully she'll be calm. The second disclaimer, I just said that and I think she's about to go. Hang on. It's okay, you can sleep. The second disclaimer is, you've probably noticed at this point, I don't have any editing software. Not even Windows Movie Maker. I don't even have the basics. So this video, as much as I would love to have cool music and to show little awesome clips and snippets of the documentary, or to even at least show the titles and the pictures, I can't. All my videos, every video you will see on this channel is just raw, unedited, talking to the camera. So if you're going to find that really boring, just hearing my opinion, you can turn off now. Okay, so those are my disclaimers. Also, I will put links in the description below to all the documentaries that are free where possible, but not all of them are free, and not all of them are on like YouTube, but where I can, I will link them. But the ones that aren't free, please feel free to drop me a message and I will buy them for you, or I will find a way to send them to you, because I believe that everybody should have access to these. They're really powerful and important pieces of information. So, and I don't think anybody should be denied access to that. So please get in contact if you need to see something and you don't have access to it. Okay, so before I begin, and I've been procrastinating now for nearly 3 minutes, so I apologise, but before I begin, I need to say how hard it was to, one, put these in an order, and to, two, narrow it down. And as such, I am going to do an honorary mentions before I go to number 1. Okay, so let's crack on. Coming in at number 10, Blackfish. Blackfish, for those who don't know, is a documentary about, well, primarily about SeaWorld, but it's mainly telling the tale of an orca called Tilikum, and how it tells kind of his life story, how he came from the wild all the way to when he eventually killed a SeaWorld trainer. And it's very harrowing, it's very informative, it's just something that really stays with people. I have a couple of kind of issues with it as somebody who is very, very obsessed with orcas, just because I found a couple of things to be slightly like problematic. But despite that, I think that it was such an important milestone, and it was something, it was like the thing that everybody needed to wake up and to realise that cetaceans do not belong in captivity. Because that's something I've been fighting for since I was 8 years old, but not everybody was aware of that. So I think this was such an important moment for the cetacean advocates. The only problem I have with it is that everybody seems to think that SeaWorld is the only problem, and that's very much not true. There are so many facilities all over the world that need shutting down. But one thing at a time. and I suppose we're going in head first and tackling the biggest corporation of them all. So anyway, so that's Blackfish, and that's my number 10. I can't count. What am I doing with my fingers here? Number 9, I chose Ghosts in Our Machine, which is the documentary made by the incredible activist Joanne MacArthur. For those who don't know, she's like my hero. Like, I love her. You guys don't understand. Like, she is so amazing. And she has 2 really, really fantastic books. The first one is called We Animals. Just thinking about that book is really, like, insane. It's so, like, really touched me. And the second book she had was Captive, A Year in Captivity. And both of those are just, So when she made a documentary, can you even imagine? Basically, let me explain. Joanne MacArthur is a photographer, professional photographer, and she's not just any photographer, she's one of the most powerful photographers of anyone that there's. She's just my favourite photographer in the whole world. And the Ghost in Our Machine basically follows her journey as she photographs and takes footage from some of the worst places in the world, from fur farms to factory farms to slaughterhouses to captivity. It's got a bit of everything, and it kind of follows how she copes mentally for doing this, and it's just a brilliant documentary and something everybody should see. Number 8 is not a documentary. I will be honest, some of these are just powerful videos that I really felt needed to be included. So I'm going to change the title of this to documentaries/video footage. So number 8 is Toward Rational Authentic Food Choices, which is a TED Talk given by the incredible Dr. Melanie Joy. Dr. Melanie Joy is another of my biggest heroes. She is just so inspirational. Now, for those who don't know, Melanie Joy coined the term carnism. Carnism is the disconnect that people experience when consuming animal products. I mean, she uses a really good example. I won't spoil too much of it, but she uses a very good example about how someone might feel if they were eating a really lovely lasagna and then were told that the key ingredient was a golden retriever. And she describes that sick feeling that that person would get in the pit of their stomach as how vegans feel all the time. And Toward Rational Authentic Food Choices, that TED Talk basically talks about carnism and what it means, how she coined the term, and it's just very clever and very powerful, and it's short. So for those who don't have a long attention span, this one is for you. Number 7. Am I supposed to be holding up fingers every time? I suppose since I don't have video editing footage, so I can't even put a number on the screen, I probably should. So number 7, I chose Life According to Ohad. Not very many people have heard of this, and that really upsets me because I found it to be one of the best documentaries of all time. Life According to Ohad is about a man called Ohad and how when he became vegan and an animal rights activist, he broke off from his family. So the opening moments of the documentary, it's so gripping. He calls his parents for the first time in years, and it's about how he reconciles with his family and the battles, the arguments, the ups and the downs that they have of accepting him as an animal rights activist. And it's just so gripping and so brilliant, and it's really touching and really fascinating. and such an interesting psychological documentary. I just love that documentary. It's not in English, it's subtitled, so if you do have a problem with that, that may be an issue. Just disclaimer. Number 6 is also not a documentary. It is a speech. And I bet you're all thinking that it's going to be the best speech you'll ever hear. But it's not. Number 6, I chose 101 Reasons to Go Vegan. Now, contrary to the title, this speech is not somebody listing 101 reasons that somebody should go vegan. However, it is a very poignant and powerful speech in which, sorry, my glasses are like bothering me, I'm a bit blind, sorry. It is a very powerful, very poignant speech in which James Wildman, who is really cool, by the way, talks about, he kind of covers every aspect of veganism, really, of like the ethics, the environment, and the health side. And it's really, really, really gripping and really powerful. And ironically, I think it's probably the best speech I've ever heard. It's not in your face and aggressive, but it hits you enough that you can't stop thinking about it for hours and hours after it's finished. And like, you'll find yourself quoting parts of the documentary for the rest of your life. So that's something that I very strongly recommend. Okay, so number 5, we're getting into the halfway point now. I bet you can all predict pretty much the top 5, but we'll see. At number 5 is actually kind of a mockumentary more than anything else. And kind of a fictional drama at the same time. But I chose at number 5, Simon Amstell's, that is his name, isn't it? Oh my god, sorry. I've been up since 5 o'clock this morning. Simon Amstell's Carnage, which was actually featured on BBC 3. And it's brilliant. It's set in the year... Is it 2058? 2068? I should have, like, prepared myself for this. I shouldn't be a YouTuber. Yeah, okay. It's set in the future. That's what I could have just said instead of, you know, making myself embarrassed. That's why I need editing software, isn't it? It's set in the future, and it is, the whole world has turned vegan, and it's actually, like, interviewing people who, like, have lived in the generation where the world wasn't vegan, and it's like hearing their perspective on how shocking it is that everybody used to eat animals. And it is so fascinating and so great, and like, there are funny bits, it's really humorous, it takes the piss but in a like polite kind of likable way, but at the same time it's really sad and really like heartwarming. And by the time it was finished, I was in tears because I just thought, I want that world so badly. So that's one I really strongly recommend, especially if you want something a bit lighter. That's probably the lightest thing on this list. So the top 4, I need to just say how much I struggled putting this 4 in an order. Ultimately, all 4 of these are kind of equal to me, but I went through personal choice and what I found personally worked for me. But every person is so different that this could be a completely different order for everyone. So here goes nothing. Just remember, it's opinion, okay? Don't get mad at me. I don't want you to be mad. I'm sorry in advance. At number 4, I chose Land of Hope and Glory. This is a documentary by the wonderfully famous Earthling Ed, who you will all have heard of, no doubt. Ed is such an incredible person. I've known Ed now for a couple of years, and he is just such a lovely person and somebody that I'll always consider a close friend. I don't get to see him very much anymore because he's so busy. Life on the road. But it's all for the right reasons. He's doing such an amazing job. So shout out to Ed. But him and Luna made this incredible documentary called Land of Hope and Glory. And what I think is so powerful about this, particularly, well, mostly for people in the United Kingdom, is that it's all recent footage, all from the last maybe like 8 years or so, but mostly it's in the last like 2 or 3 years, and it's all, so it's all footage from the last 2 or 3 years, and it's all local. Everything is within the United Kingdom, and it goes all over the UK, literally, and it's really powerful, very distressing, of course. For me, it was maybe slightly easier because I actually was there for a couple of the things that were filmed. For those who don't know, I used to be an organiser of something called Hertfordshire Chicken Save, which is a branch of the Save movement. You've probably all heard of Toronto Pig Save. So I used to see animals going to slaughter on a daily basis, and actually some of the footage is actually from Hertfordshire Chicken Save. Ed was really kind, and him and Luna used to come down quite frequently to be with me for my vigils. They were so lovely, bless them. So some of that footage is actually from Hertfordshire Chicken Save, and there's also a piece from Farnborough, and of some calves going into slaughter, and I was there for that as well. I remember those calves really clearly. I've got photos of them myself. So I think the main message to take away from Land of Hope and Glory is it is happening here, and it is happening now, because I think that's one of the common excuses. It doesn't happen in my country, you know, but things like that haven't happened for years. No. And it's not isolated cases either. It shows footage from hundreds of farms and slaughterhouses, so it's really incredible. And the only reason, well, I was going to say the only reason I didn't put it in the top 3, I guess I'll explain that after, but anyway, so that's my number 4, and that is free to watch, description. Okay, at number 3, Cowspiracy. Don't let that title fool you. It's a silly title, I know. It sounds like a big joke, but it is incredible. It's not a batch of conspiracy theories. It basically talks about how the environmental impact of consuming animal products, which most people think is fairly minimal, really, but actually the statistics that are used in that film are shocking. And what's really great about it is if you go onto the website, which I'll also link below, it has a facts page, and every fact that was featured in Cowspiracy is listed on this page and sourced from peer-reviewed journals and studies, so nobody can really dispute it. It's so well done. So for anybody who cares about their global footprint, this one is for you. This is like, you know, this is the one for the people who care about the state of our planet. Okay, we're in the top 2, guys. Oh. Number 2, I've chosen What the Health. What the Health is by the same man who did Cowspiracy, and it's so fascinating. He basically talks about how, like, the meat, fish, dairy and egg industries sponsor like a batch of like health sort of charities, like cancer research, and I mean these are actually American charities, so I'm just using British examples, but it's, you know, the equivalent, the American equivalent. It's like, oh, what is it, the American, is it the American Heart Association or Diabetic Association? I don't know. Either way, it talks about all of that, all these charities, and how they're actually being paid by the meat, fish, dairy and egg industries to promote them, and it's all a way of like making money. And it talks about, and look, there's so many interviews with medical professionals who speak about the dangers of consuming meat, fish, dairy and eggs, and what it's actually doing to our bodies, and how it's not so much sugar that you need to be scared of, although obviously it's not saying that, you know, we should just go out and drink soda, but what it's saying is everybody is so frightened of like sugar and carbohydrates, when actually the things we need to be really scared about are dairy and meat and eggs, etc. So it's just such a great documentary. It really, really is. I'm not doing it justice. Please all go and just check it out for yourself. Unfortunately, it's not online for free, but it is on Netflix. But if you don't have Netflix, hit me up and I'll just send it to you in an email. We have reached number 1, but before I do number 1, I'm going to give some honorary mentions, and I'm not going to go into huge detail. So, my honorary mentions: An Apology to Elephants. It's short, it's heartbreaking. You should watch it. And I'll link to the honorary mentions as well. Fowl Play, a short documentary about egg factory farming by Mercy for Animals. Really sad, really, really poignant. Meet Your Meat. I think that's by Peter. That's harrowing. And very, very short, like under 20 minutes. From Farm to Fridge, again by Mercy for Animals. Such a good organisation. Best Speech You'll Ever Hear. Not a huge fan of Gary Yourofsky myself, personally, although I know everybody loves him, but it is a very, very good speech. Quite aggressive and in your face, but it does hit you up with the truth. So if you're ready to hear the facts, and nothing but the facts, great speech. Forks Over Knives. The only reason I didn't include that in the top 10, I think it is top 10 worthy, but I didn't want to include that as well as What the Health, because they're both very much health related documentaries. But Forks Over Knives is very good, and that speaks a lot more about like the biology of literally how dangerous it is, and how it's very, very good for dairy. Actually, it speaks about the connotations between osteoporosis and dairy, because obviously everybody thinks that dairy is good for your bones, but it's not. And so Forks Over Knives, really, really, really good for that. The Whale, as somebody who loves orcas, you know, there's got to be one in there. Apart from, I've really included Blackfish, but anyway. The Whale is really fantastic. It's about a southern resident orca called Luna, and he got lost from his pod and he became dependent on humans even though he was in the wild. And it was this ongoing battle between the public, marine biologists and a Native American tribe about what was the best thing to do for Luna's health and safety, because he was literally relying on being hand-fed by people. And it's so riveting and so sad. Like, get your tissues for that one. And then my last honorary mention before I go to number 1 is Lucent. That is the only documentary on this planet that I've never been able to finish. I can't. I can't. I've tried. I cannot do it. I've only got 25 minutes in and then I turn it off every time. I've tried to get past it and I can't. It's an Australian documentary, and actually the sequel, Dominion, is just about to come out, so look out for that. I'll post a trailer in the link below to Dominion. But Lucent is an Australian documentary about pigs, pig factory farming, and that's it. That's all it is, but I couldn't do it. So, at number 1, I really want to insert a drum roll. I have chosen Earthlings. Now, a lot of people will argue with me and say, but a lot of the footage is really old. It's American footage, so it's not happening in the UK, so it's not great to show UK people. But for me, I think because it's what turned me vegan, it's the thing that I have to mention. Earthlings to me is everything you would ever really need to go vegan. It covers all areas. in which we exploit animals from like kill shelters. It begins with like the pet section, like kill shelters, etc., and what happens to animals when we just abandon them. Then it goes into food, and that covers meat, fish, dairy, and eggs. Then it goes into clothing, and it covers fur and leather. I don't think it goes into wool, does it? That's a shame. They should redo that and go into wool. Then it goes into entertainment, and it doesn't just cover captivity, it covers everything. Bullfighting, rodeos, circuses, some of that footage. And then the final chapter 5, part 5, is vivisection, and it talks about animal testing for cosmetics, medicine, etc. It is by far the most traumatic thing you will ever see in your life, but it will change your life for the better, and it will enhance your life in the long run. And even though it's very, very painful, once you know, you know. And it's also narrated by Joaquin Phoenix, and he is very cool. Okay guys, I've nearly been talking for half an hour now, so if you've lasted this long, thank you! Bye!